So here we're going to tighten this exhaust plate on here. Doesn't have to be too tight. It's got a nice rubber gasket in there. We're also going to tighten on this intake plate. Doesn't have to be too tight either. And then we're just going to put the cylinder on. Remembering that this is just temporarily going in there. To test. It's kind of amazing how easy these little guys come apart and go together. I broke this whole saw down in about 5 minutes. When I needed to find out if they had all the parts. They don't have a head per se. The cylinder and the head are one piece. How convenient is that? Now if we were going to actually torque these, you would torque them across evenly. But we're not. We're just getting them to be airtight. Okay, ready to put the vacuum gauge on. Okay, here we go. We got our vacuum gauge. This is a brake bleeding vacuum gauge hooked up to our little intake plate there. And let me get the manual. I cheated. So we got the manual right here. Here it is, crankcase assembly. We want vacuum to be 0.04 MPa. Or it's none of this is on here. 5.7 psi. I know what that one is. That's not on here either. This has got millimeters and HG, whatever that is. So let's go to our little conversion chart here. Let's see, 5.7 psi converted to millimeters and mercury, millimeters Hg, 294. So that's the inside scale. That's about 300. So let's go ahead and pump this guy up to 300. Right there, just under 300. And then it's supposed to leak down no less than, or no more than, let's go back to our manual here. Oh, let's see, 1.4 psi per minute. You know, that would be like 1/5 of that scale per minute. Well, it looks to me like that's holding pretty good, so I think we're good. It's not leaking at all. That means these 30-year-old seals and this 30-year-old crankcase gasket and the base gasket here and this little stupid spark plug gasket, those are all good. Let's test the theory and see if I'm even doing what I think I'm doing. We'll loosen the spark plug and see if our vacuum goes away. Oh, look, there it goes. So the seals pass the vacuum test. Next, we have to set up for the pressure test. Now, kids, don't try this at home. This is a bicycle pump, which, as it turns out, fits perfectly on this fitting. The thing is, we don't have a gauge, so we can't tell how full we're getting it. But I can tell you that it's building pressure. And that's got to be 10 pounds right there. So let's just see how long it holds that. Now, I don't know how good of a seal that is. But, you know, this is definitely the wrong way to do this. But, you know, I'm figuring if it seals with vacuum, it seals under pressure. Let's just find out here. It's been 49 seconds. We'll go a couple more. We'll go a full minute. I don't know what this is going to tell us. Let's see. Here we go. Well, that was quite a bit of air came out of that. So I got to assume that those seals are good. So we've improperly tested our vacuum and pressure. The vacuum's good. There's a guy on YouTube, I think it's the chainsaw guy. He has a real chainsaw shop. He's got a million videos on there, but he actually does tell you and sell you the correct tool. It's not cheap. It's like $120 for doing this test. It's a pressure and vacuum gauge that will plug on here, and he tells you how to cheat this as well. And what that allows you to do is both vacuum and pressure test your crankcase, your fuel tank, that's also very important, and your carburetor, which we're going to eventually also have to do. You need to test that as well to find out if your needle and seat are sealing. If that needle is not sealing, it's going to blow gas through it and run too rich. So I'll never run consistently. So right about now I'm going to have a beer and clean up this mess, and then we're going to move on to something else.